Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi everyone, this is Stewart Andrew Alexander, back again with another exciting guest, and we're going to hear more about her in just a few short moments. But first, let me tell you about an online article I was reading the other day on entrepreneur.com, which was titled 10 Single Mom Entrepreneurs Share Their Best Business Advice. Now, in that article, written by Kate Taylor, a reporter at Business Insider and former reporter at Entrepreneur, it said, running your own business is no piece of cake, and neither is raising a family. And in another article from the Huffington Post, Terry Gaspard of DivorcedMoms.com added, the key to successful single parenting is to reflect daily upon the importance of preparing for your new life and accepting that change is necessary. So, single mothers, are you looking to make better life decisions and succeed in single parenthood? Well, today, my guest answers some of the most burning questions that single mothers think about at some stage during the day, such as, can I do this on my own? Will my child grow up to be another statistic? How can I be successful at single parenting? And that's exactly what we'll be discussing today and more. Currently residing in Illinois, she's a business growth strategist, has a master's degree in business administration, owns her own publishing company, ladies and gentlemen, and is author of the book, The Single Mother's Diaries, Tips and Wisdom on Being a Fabulous and Single Successful Mother. So please, join me in welcoming her to the show, Aria Craig. Welcome to the show, Aria. Are you there?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. So glad to have you here. I know that you're really, really busy over there. So let's just jump straight in, if you will, Aria. And let's just go back to the Entrepreneur magazine article that I mentioned during your introduction. Now, one of the single moms featured in that article, Angela Benton, founder and CEO of New Me, who since launching in 2011 has accelerated over 300 startups by helping them, now wait for this, by helping them to raise over $17 million in venture capital funding. Now listen to this, Aria. She had her first child at 16 years old and has made a name for herself in the world of design and technology, appearing on Ebony Magazine's Power 150 in 2010, Goldman Sachs' 100 Most Intriguing Entrepreneurs of 2013, and Marie Claire's 50 Women Who Rule in 2013. Now, her advice to single mothers is, and I quote, being a single mom is not a setback. Don't get me wrong, entrepreneurship is a ton of work. However, don't let the perception of this lifestyle count you out before you even count yourself in. Being a single mom comes with a wealth of skills that do well in entrepreneurship, such as multitasking, creativity, managing and or operating on a budget, and problem solving, to say the least. I don't know about you, but I put my money on someone with those skills rather than a new college grad. Now, Aria, I've said a lot, but those are the words from an incredible trailblazing woman who has managed to rise above the status quo and crush the general misconception that all single mothers are either under welfare, choose not to exercise birth control, and produce illegitimate boys and girls that turn out to be menaces to society. So my question to you, Aria, is, are more and more single, successful women a recent trend?
I have to answer yes to that. We have to remember that even divorced moms are considered single moms from society standards. A lot of times when we have divorced moms, I should say a lot of times, more times, we have moms that are in different types of positions, and we have to remember that they are the leaders in their household. So they have to be the ones that are making sure that they're following their dreams, working towards whatever their career objectives are, because they're the leaders in their household that have to be the influence for their children. They're the breadwinners. They have to be the ones that are influencing. They're the ones that's taking care of making all the decisions in their households for themselves and their children. So we're seeing more women that are single moms stepping up with understanding that it's more to just being a single parent. I still have to live my life and follow whatever or achieve whatever goals that I have set for myself while I'm parenting. Otherwise, I'm going to just get lost in the statistics.
Okay, so that is a good thing, right? I mean, there's this general perception that single women are under welfare and choosing not to exercise birth control, bringing children into the world that are only going to be a menace to society. That is old hat, is it not?
Well, I would say look around you. There are a lot of successful single moms out here. We can't allow society and the media to control how we view people. That's part of the stigma. So if you just go look around the corner, look at your neighbor, look when you're going out to the grocery store, look at the people that are grocery shopping with you. Go to your place of business. There are a lot of people that are single parents, whether they were single or divorced parents, that are in leadership positions that are not on welfare. That's just a stigma, and we have to really get out of the idea and the brainwashing that this is something that holds true for every single mom.
Okay, thanks for going a little bit deeper into that for us, Aria. And before we start talking about the main topic today, which is being a fabulous and successful single mother, let's take a moment to talk about the single fathers out there who are taking care of their children, often referred to as baby daddy or baby daddies. What are your personal views on this point? Can you expand a little on this for us, please?
I don't like the term baby daddy because it has a negative connotation. So I don't choose to call my son's father baby daddy. I call him my son's father or my son's dad, and that's how we acknowledge each other. He calls me my son's mother or my son's mom. I think that for fathers that are single fathers or divorced fathers, they get kind of a bad rap. When I'm talking about those that actually support and are recognized as being responsible parents to their children. So that I think that's unfortunate because a lot of men that don't support their children, they are part of the statistics. However, the woman is the one that gets all the slack because she's the one that comes into the doctor's office with the last name that's different from the child's last name. But going back to the fathers, they get a lot of bad rap, and you don't see it too much. I am starting to see a little bit more of it, like in commercials, where you may see, particularly like an African American father with his child, and you can look on the finger and see whether or not they had it on the commercial purposely to acknowledge whether or not they're married. You're seeing them actually being involved in having fun and loving their children, which is something that you don't see often. And hopefully we're seeing more of that binding connection with the children out there in the media, however it may be, maybe it's commercials, on TV, in movies, in a positive light, instead of listening to what statistics say or listening to, what the stigma is surrounded around fathers, single fathers.
Now, Aria, in the past, you've been known to speak about the importance of single mothers being aware that, and as in your own words, they are not his keeper. Now, when I read that in your book, I had to think to myself, what does she mean by that? So can you just dig a little bit deeper into what sounds like an interesting lesson for all of us to learn, please, Aria?
Oh, sure. So I'll just be transparent about my experience. So my son's father is actively involved in his life, but when I was pregnant, he wasn't. So I think I saw him maybe twice during my pregnancy. So at the time to where I let him know that I was pregnant, and we had been off and on for a year before I became pregnant. He didn't take it with good reception. So I just realized, okay, I'm pretty much probably going to be taking care of this child by myself. But after a couple of months of, I don't know if he had some conversations with his friends or whatever the case was, he gave me a call, and I'm about 3 months pregnant at this point, and told me that he wasn't sure because he hadn't had children. So he wasn't sure if he was going to be involved in this child's life, and he wanted to get a paternity test and all of this stuff, which I was very offended by that because I was only with him. So there was no way anybody else could be the father of my child. So at that point, I let him know, I'm not going to make you do what you need to do. You know that this child is coming. You know that you are the father. I'm not going to. You have to be accountable for your own actions, and you know what your responsibilities are. So I can't be your keeper. If you're going to be there, then we're going to move forward with co-parenting. If you're not going to be there, then me and this child are going to move forward regardless, and we're going to do it successfully, whether you're involved or not. So I feel I will share with other single moms that are pregnant. I would not beg the father to be responsible because he knows what his responsibility is. He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows that he partook in the creation of this child. So if you're wasting a lot of energy trying to get this man to be actively involved and to get him to participate from a child support perspective, I say that you go to the maximum in terms of letting him know that what you're going to do from your rights perspective, whether it be filing child support or, if you have arrangements for visitation, but you continue to move forward as a mom with raising that child successfully.
That's actually a good segue into my next question, Aria. In your book, The Single Mother's Diaries, Tips and Wisdom on Being a Fabulous and Successful Single Woman, you talk about the importance of making better decisions. Mm-hmm. So, in your own words, can you just explain what you mean by this?
You know what? This is really an important topic for me. When I sat on the panel, the last talk that I had, I was very clear about making sure, like empowering mothers to make sure that they understood, because there was a lot of hurt and a lot of pain in the room for women who did not know what to do with the father of their children because they weren't actively involved in their lives. So it was a really solemn moment for me, and I really felt so bad for them. They had to realize that right now the most important thing is them and their children. They had to really realize how to disconnect that emotional aspect with the father and look at it more like a business transaction. I hate to say that, but you have to take the emotion out of it and look at what's in the best interest of the child. When you're making better decisions, when you make decisions from that aspect, you're not going to get emotionally pulled in with the father. You're not going to get upset. You're not going to be bitter. And it takes time because you're still dwelling on the emotions that you had with this person when you were in a relationship with them. And it's not like that anymore. You have to transform your mind to understand now I have to move forward with me and another person. I have to be the steward for another person. I have to be their blanket, their comfort, their leader, their protector. You have to do all of those things now. So making better decisions even includes you reaching your goals. If you want to go back to school, right? When I was younger, when I was in college, at the very beginning of college, when I first started after I graduated, online classes were like very, very few and far between because it was just starting out as a new idea, a new initiative. Okay. Then after I had my son, it started to boom. So I went to school because that was my goal. I wanted to finish school. So as a matter of fact, when my son was 4, I was looking for local colleges so that I can go to have class, take him with me to class because they had child care services so that I can transfer those credits to get my degree, finish with my degree. So that I didn't let that stop me. So that was a goal for me as a single mom. I didn't look at him as a burden. I didn't look at him as this was going to be something that was going to stop me from living my life. I'm just going to have to alter things a little bit to include him and as a mother now instead of as a single person. So that includes following your dreams, achieving your goals, and even making the decision to not have another child. It is important that if you are struggling with the first one and going through issues with the first one, I'm not sure where the mindset would be if you think it's going to be any easier having another one without having some type of commitment from another man or some type of support system there to help you out. So those are my decisions. And even then, going a step further, deciding the type of man you're going to be with to begin with. Because even you being a single mother should awaken you with a sense of certain standards that you would have as a mom. If you're looking to get married as a single mom, you're going to start dating differently. At least I hope so. Your whole realm of understanding what your situation is now and the decisions that you're going to make should determine the type of man you would even want to date, let alone marry. So it's all about making those wiser decisions because you're making them not just for you now, but for your child or children.
I can imagine, Aria, if you're in a situation where your relationship is broken up, your partner's cheated on you, or they, God forbid, they've passed away, whatever the case may be, adopting that business mindset to make the right decisions, I can imagine that's got to be a tough ask because you're just surrounded with all of these emotions. Your whole world has come crashing down. How do you go about just getting that clarity in the midst of all of that chaos to be able to make clear decisions?
Well, just look at it this way. If you were working in corporate America or even for a government sector, and your boss told you, this is a project that I want you to work on, and these are, at the end of this project, this is the result that I want to see. He or she is not going to want you to put emotion around it. They just want you to get it done and get it done to the best of your ability, coming back by the deadline with that decision. And that decision, of course, is going to be what's in the best interest of the department and what's going to be in the best interest of the company. So that's how you have to really reset your mind. If you can do it at work, then you can do it at home in your personal life. Because you can't allow outside factors and outside distractions like whatever your emotion was tied to the child's father to get in the way of you meeting that goal. You meeting it at the end of the day, I'm making the best decision for me and my child, like at the company. At the end of the day, you're creating results that work in the best interest of you and your child. So if you can do that. You can go into the workplace and do that, and you can definitely do that in your personal life also.
Aria, can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
Do you love what you do?
I do. I do a lot. I think you can hear it in my voice. I really do.
Oh, my goodness. You could just go on all day doing this, couldn't you?
I could.
Right. So tell me, share with us, and obviously keeping client confidentiality in mind, share with us an example of somebody who you've helped, somebody who may have been in that situation where their whole life came crashing down, the relationship came to an end, and you were able to help them to work through that, to come through to the other end, and with some specific kind of results and outcome. Could you share something like that or a story with us that could be very useful to the single mothers out there?
Oh, sure. Actually, I will use, for the sake of confidentiality, I will use a situation that happened with my husband.
Okay.
So even though it's not from a mother standpoint, it's from a father standpoint, because I think that a lot of us need to, especially from a divorced parent standpoint, need to understand how it impacts both parents and the children.
Sure.
So without naming names, I'm not going to get technical with the names. But my husband and I've actually talked about this before. My husband was divorced, so I'm his second marriage. So he's divorced, and he is my first marriage, and he had 3 children within his marriage. So his son, which was the youngest one, was on Boy Scouts. So he's very actively involved with Boy Scouts when I first met him, and a couple of other athletic activities. So when there was a situation, because they had been married for so long, there's a lot of emotion. when you're married for a long time, there's a lot of emotion when you're only married for a couple of years and it doesn't work out. So imagine being married for 17, 18 years and having had 3 children and built a family together. So there was a time where after he and I were married, where he went to go and get take his son up from his ex-wife's house, from the mom's house. And because his ex-wife had still so much anger and bitterness because he was able to move on and with someone else and get remarried before she did, she still held on to that. Mm-hmm. So he went to go pick my stepson up to take him to Scout, to a Boy Scouts meeting. And because they had a disagreement before, while he was on his way there, by the time he got there, my stepson stood in the door with his Scout uniform on, waiting for his dad to pick him up. And she told him, do not open the door. So he cried. He was emotional about that. He actually saw his dad come up to the door. His mom said, don't open the door for your dad, because he's oblivious to what's going on. He just knows his dad is coming to pick him up. Told him, do not open the door. And he had to see his dad get back in the car and drive off. And meanwhile, he's hearing his mom yelling at his dad on the phone, on her cell phone. Because he just knows that he's here. I'm about to leave. Mom says, don't open the door. And now I see my dad leaving. What's going on?
Poor thing.
So these are the things that we don't realize as single parents, the impact that it has on our children. When I'm trying to encourage him, I told him, you have to start looking at this, like I said earlier, from a business perspective. You all need to sit down, and I will be happy to moderate, but I didn't know if that was something she was going to be willing to do. Happy to talk about what can we do, because I've done it myself. I'm a master at it with my son's dad. He and I were never married. I'm a master at it. So fix it. Let's sit down and figure out how can we do this to where they're not being impacted. So he got to a point where he started listening to me. You got to take the emotion out of it. All 3 of the kids, he's the youngest, all 3 of the kids have cell phones, so you can be able to reach out to them without having to go through their mom. So you have to start being a little bit more strategic so you can make sure that you still secure your connection with them and you're able to still kind of navigate these waters without there being so much stress and emotion, hurt, and pain while you're still connecting with your children.
Aria, I'm sat here just hanging on to every word that you're sharing with us today. It's such great feedback, such great advice. I just really want to thank you for speaking from the heart, because that's a real story, and I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Aria, we're coming slowly to the end of the show, but before we do, I know we've talked a little bit about some of the topics covered in your book, The Single Mother's Diary, but can you just share with us, what was it that actually led you to write the book?
Well, I would get a lot of accolades and compliments from just strangers, people that I knew, people at church, about how I raised my son. He's really done very well. He's a typical teenager, 17 years old now. Typical things with, certain things that all teenagers have to go through when they're transitioning from a teenager to an adult. But we've come a long way, in our family. So he has done so much. He's accomplished so much, and I've accomplished so much. So I've had someone at church, one of the brethren at my congregation said, you know what, I think that a lot of single moms can learn from, what you're doing, and as a template kind of for raising your children successfully and navigating those waters, trying to figure out how do I do this by myself. Or if the father is involved, but you still have, there's still that disconnect between you and the parent, as it is in my situation. He and I have a disconnect, but he and his son get along very well. He and my son get along very well, but we have, our issues. He said that you should really write a book and talk about that. So that's what I did. I wrote the Single Mother Diaries. So it was very therapeutic, because I really want to be of support to help moms around the world, single, divorced, and blended moms around the world, to figure out how to successfully, I keep saying navigating because it's the perfect term, navigate these dynamics in these relationships.
So if somebody picks up a copy of your book then, Aria, what would you like them to come away with? What kind of lessons would you like them to walk away with from reading your book?
I want them to know that it is very possible. It is very possible for you to be successful in your endeavors and what you want out of your life while you're raising productive children. That's the main point. And just know that you're not by yourself. This has been done many times over. And you can very well be successful at what you want to do and help your children to be successful also as a single mom.
How can somebody find out more about you, Aria, and get a copy of your book?
My book is now on Amazon, so you can either purchase it through Amazon. There's also an ebook format, or you can get to know me and my story and more information about what I do with my services from my website, www.ariacraig.com.
Okay, Aria, maybe there's a question I haven't asked you today. So that said, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with single mothers before we go?
I just want them to keep their focus. It's hard right now with everything that's going on, and you know, people might be concerned about what's going to happen because a lot of people, single, divorced, and blended moms, depend on certain things that that have been put in place for us. So keep your mind focused on whatever initiative that you have set for you and your family. Just keep moving forward and staying positive, surrounding yourself with positive, ambitious other moms. And you'll get there. You'll reach it. You'll reach that top.
Aria, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been great talking to you and discussing some of the topics in your book. So if you're a single mom listening to the show right now and you're wanting to make better decisions so you can become and remain, I say, a fabulous and successful single mother, then you need to check out Aria's book, The Single Mother's Diaries, Tips and Wisdom on Being a Fabulous and Successful Single Mother. It's available on Amazon and other leading book retailers. So that's it for today, folks. Until next time, this is Stewart Andrew Alexander saying take care, we'll talk soon, and always remember to live the life you love.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.